Alright, ladies and gentlemen, today I would like to talk about this car right here. This is a 1971 Dodge Dart, and this is probably the only 71 Dodge Dart in the world with the Japanese heart in it. So let me explain. This car has a Toyota V8 in it. And some of you might say, what the hell were you thinking of swapping a Toyota V8 into this car? Now I have to explain something. We are in Thailand, and these kind of swaps very common. You can see 60-70% of old cars, is American or Japanese, it's got swapped out engine in it. Even Mercedes, BMWs got the swap. So it's very common. Another thing is, why do they do it? Why don't they use the original engine or just chuck in a 318 in it or something? Well, because Japanese engines are cheap, much cheaper than restoring a original engine or get one. So, and the car, I bought it exactly like not exactly like this, but the swap was done, and I thought to myself, well, it's a V8, I can live with that. And the other reason is, if you want to buy original car, especially an American one, the prices are astronomical. I'm talking about astronomical prices. So they could be 3, 4, 5 times more than a swapped out one. And you might say, why don't you import a 71 Dodge into Thailand? Because you cannot import any used car into Thailand. End of story. So let's talk about the engine, shall we? Alright, so what do we have here actually? This one is called the 1UZFE engine. It's a V8, 4.0 liters, 260 horsepower, and it got 4 overhead cams, 2 on each banks. And there are many variations of this engine. Well, not many, but this is the non-VVTi version. You can tell the VVTi version does have a different intake manifold top and shape. So this is a non-VVTi, and there were 2 versions of it. The very early one, and this is the generation 2. You can tell them apart by the cover. It is one-piece cover on the second generation, and the MEF airflow sensor is in a plastic housing. The another difference is the coil on this side facing towards the front of the car, and another thing is the fuel rails are round tops. The early ones are square ones. So the thing is, when I bought the car, I tested it. It was running, driving, braking, turning as everything it's supposed to do. That's why I bought it. I didn't want too big of a project, but there are problems. The problems are mostly aesthetics, or how the car looks. It didn't look like this. It because of different wheels on it. The interior is a mixed match stuff from Japanese cars. The wheels are different, the steering wheel. The instrument gauge is from the same car as the engine. The transmission, all the drivetrain is from the same car, which is, I think, I don't know exactly, I think it's a 1995 Toyota Celsior, which is the LS400 in the US market. So it was running alright, and I started using it a couple of weeks, and I said to myself, oh, well, it's kind of, well, it's alright, but it doesn't blow your heads off, like. So I said to myself, okay, let's do some maintenance stuff, which I had no previous records whatsoever. What's the engine, what was done to it. I only knew it had 175,000 kilometers, which is just an over 100,000 miles. So changed the cam belt, the water pump, which is known to be problematic, and we had problems with a little bit. It was running hot, so added extra fan in the front, a big one. The radiator was flushed out, it was clogged up pretty badly, and fixed the aircon. So, and what else, and oh yeah, the two coils are new, the plug wires are new, and all the plugs are new. So I tested, we're running on 8 cylinders, so it's not a problem, but everything else, or pretty much everything, controlled by the ECU, and ECU takes the data from these sensors, the MAF sensor, the cam position sensor, all kind of sensors giving back the data. And I said, okay, I cleaned out the sensor, this sensor, cleaned out the throttle body, and it runs much better than before. But still, I actually don't know, is it normal how these cars going, how these engines perform, because I never had one before, never driven one before. So I thought to myself, let's do some testing. So we're gonna test some acceleration data, which for comparison, to compare to the LS400. The LS400 can do 0 to 60k in 3.3 seconds. The Lexus SC400 can do 2.9 seconds, 0 to 60. And the 71 Dodge Dart with the 318 does 4.1 seconds, 0 to 60k. But another thing you should know, these Lexus drivetrain is a 4-speed transmission, and it's geared to cruise. It's not geared to short red light to red light thing to race it. But 2.9 seconds is a very impressive number, and honestly I don't feel it when I step on it. So the best thing to do is to test it. So let's go and test it. Okay guys, so I did some runs, and that was the first one. 0 to 60, 5.8 seconds, absolutely rubbish. The second one, 5.4 seconds, also rubbish. And you can see our diesel Toyota Fortuner one does 6.6 seconds. So there is something definitely not right. Alright guys, so this is my final conclusion of the run. I was checking online actually the data, and maybe you could see on my other phone it ran the quarter mile in 15 seconds and 15.3 seconds, which is faster than an LS400 in quarter mile. And I had to slow down before I reached the quarter mile because the traffic. So I assume it's even can go faster, 14.76 maybe. Which brings me to a conclusion. Is this application is reliable? Because my speed was not even close what the LS400 data suggests. I don't know. So another thing, it's a disclaimer on my part. I am not a car mechanic. I'm playing with cars since I was a kid, but I am not a car mechanic. So I did what I could, and the only place I could look for is electronic gremlins or fuel supply. Something might be wrong with the fuel supply, which we're gonna do that. And if something gets better, I'll definitely get back to you and let you know. Another thing is the engine and the whole drivetrain is completely stock. It's no aftermarket ECU, nothing. It's all stock. So it might be this is what it can do, and I have to live with that. I just wanted to know, is there something what it's supposed to do? We know these engines are kind of low on power, on low RPM, so that's known, and the gearing is geared way, so it's not a tall geared car. It's designed to go over 200k, so it's not designed for acceleration. So if you have something useful to say, just let me know, and see you later. If something's changing in performance wise, or I fix something, I'll let you know. See you later.